Now, youth unemployment remains a burning issue for the country. Employment in the South African job market went up by 0.8%, or 76,000 more jobs between September and December 2020. This is according to Stats SA, which recently published its quarterly employment stats for December 2020. It shows the continued impact of the lockdown on jobs in the country. The data is drawn from private non-agricultural businesses such as factories, firms, offices and stores, as well as from national, provincial and local government entities. Well, Youth Employment Service, or YES CEO Tashmia Ismail-Saville, joins us now to unpack these numbers. Tashmia, good morning. Thanks so much for your time. So let's first make sense of all of this. What have we noticed, particularly your concern being youth employment or youth unemployment from these figures, considering where we are with COVID and lockdown and general job losses?
So over the 2020 year, we see a 7% contraction in GDP. So the entire economy has shrunk back to 2012 and 2014 levels. But the number of young people moving into the labour market increases each year by just under 1 million. So we've got a lot more young people looking for work in a much smaller economy. Some of the things that we've got to do is all sorts of policy incentives and structural reforms to get all of those little businesses, those small businesses that have closed down, getting them back on their feet, getting them small business loans, tax incentives to employ people. For young people, small businesses are the most likely place where they're going to get that first chance to break into the workforce and the jobs market. And if we see all of these entry-level jobs in the tourism and hospitality space, for example, youth are very involved in face-to-face work, much more difficult for them to move straight into digital work. If those opportunities don't open up, they're going to be stuck.
All right. So you've been at this now for a good few months, trying to create, some work experiences for them, putting them front and centre. I suppose the question would be, how have you managed to do this, where people have had to actually let experienced staff go in some businesses? So how have you managed to find these spaces for them?
So we've done, in 120 weeks of operation, over 50,000 work opportunities for youth. That translates to 2.8 billion in salaries that goes into the economy. We are fully private sector funded. And the way we're able to do this, buck the trend, is because of a policy incentive. So the DTIC has worked with us. If companies invest in youth jobs with the Youth Employment Service, they can move up 1 or 2 levels on the BE scorecard. And having a good BE scorecard matters today. You cannot afford for your business to not be competitive with a low score. So that kind of incentive enables us to still be able to put youth into jobs.
Right, so mostly you've been able to give them about a year's work experience, is what I understand from reading about your work. How do they go on after that then? What is sort of your commitment to them? Or is it we've opened your eyes to the world, we've given you some experience, now you've got to do this for yourself? Or do you stick with them for a little bit longer?
There's a lot of research that tells us that breaking the unemployment drought is a big deal for a young person. You help them build networks, you get them a CV and a reference letter, which is part of the YES package. They get training on our smartphone. Every YES youth gets a smartphone, and that smartphone is zero rated. What's quite exciting for us is that once the youth has a quality CV and reference letter, for a young woman, it doubles the likelihood of a job. Of YES youth that are alumni and finishing off their program, we see about a 35 to 40% absorption rate, which we think is really high given COVID issues. But our companies get to try this big pipeline of youth, and they're able to assess great fit. And so many of the youth that go into the program are absorbed into the company. And then we give a lot of entrepreneurial tools to the rest of them. So they've got the CV, the reference letter, and tools to try to make a go of it, even if it's a replacement income and not a bona fide business. The bottom line is we can't boil the ocean. We can break people into the jobs market, but one NGO can't do the structural reforms to make the economy grow. And that ultimately is what is needed for them to transition into other jobs in the economy after YES.
So what industries have you been placing these youngsters in?
So this is a great question because the industry matters so much. We find that if we place youth into industries where they have a greater likelihood of being able to start their own operations. So we've got youth in urban agri, where we want them to become farmers themselves. It's a great, easy entry job to go into if you've got the right technologies. digital is always a winner, not just because they're pure digital jobs, but it is an expanding sector, and almost every company is looking for people with digital skills, which is almost a proxy for capability. What we also see are some important big projects. In fact, we've just started some discussions on this, where big companies are being asked to bring back about 20 billion in digital jobs into South Africa, jobs that are currently offshored. And there's a huge opportunity if we can prepare youth, and you can prepare them through micro-credentialing. We've seen youth with no skill in digital able to move up to become coders and developers through a series of micro-credentials. And so, yes, at our hubs are also offering a large number of digital programs. All the big companies, IBM, Microsoft, Google, have programs rolling out at our hubs, and we're finding great success when youth are placed in there in terms of them finding opportunities after that. So there are definite sectors where you have a better chance of youth finding employment.
Tashma, it sounds wonderful, and it sounds very encouraging as well, and giving hope, I suppose, to those who wonder what now. But is there a danger or a chance that, you know, the market might become saturated? You say you're dealing with a lot of private companies, you're with the private sector as well. Is there a point where you think that there's going to be a limit or a ceiling reached as to how many youth you can actually place in this? And also, does it not need, on the other hand, these companies saying, okay, we've got younger people, let's look at some of our older staff who we can now replace with these younger folk, and maybe just pay them a little bit less than what we've been paying people with the experience?
Look, you know, you are never going to be able to replace an older worker with the skills and the experience that they've got. When companies bring youth in, it's because they do need to build a recruitment pipeline. And every business needs fresh thinking, young blood. Young people are able to bring innovation into a business, new ways of doing things, and they pick up on new technologies very quickly. So it's important that a business has a constant influx of new thinking and recruitment pipelines. And so the YES program is actually a beautiful way to build a wide recruitment pipeline where you can test for fit before you enter into a permanent labor contract, where if you've got the wrong fit, you really are stuck. And so YES has become, you know, it's starting to morph into a whole lot of functionalities that we didn't envision initially, that we can actually become a recruitment pipeline for companies with youth that have the perfect fit for their business, and for youth, for them to test an opportunity to see if that's where they want to grow and develop their skills. So in any economy, you want to see young, productive people moving into the workforce. You get that demographic dividend, you get tailwinds with young people coming in. And so there isn't a danger that we're going to have labor replacement. But the ceiling is determined by economic growth. So if the economy grows and business confidence comes back, there's no ceiling to how many youth we can place. Then the issues become, what are the skills levels of youth? And we're seeing lots of innovative ways in which we can upskill youth where they don't necessarily need a 3-year university degree to be able to qualify.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much for that, Tashma Ismail from the Youth Employment Service. Or YES, if you need help, you can find them and see. Maybe it might just be your lucky day. Now,